very exciting day today in the succulent house because my mail order package has arrived with all my beautiful Conophytums in them. These are amazing succulents. I have been coveting after them for a long while, and I found someone who's prepared to sell them via an online application. They arrive wrapped up in tissue just like this with their name on it, so you know what you're getting. And many plants for collectors are sold in this way across South Africa and in fact across the world. Very interestingly, there are even auction sites where you can bid in American dollars, unfortunately, per plant, and it's based on an hour and a time basis. And if you're certainly looking for the rarer plants, then it's a place you've got to hang out. But I'm delighted in that a lot of the Conophytums that I ordered have come. It's nowhere near the full range, you know. And I think, like any collection, there's always something that you always want, and that's on that list, but you just don't have it. So today they've arrived, so it's best that I get them planted up. The Conophytums, the Afrikaans name probably describes them best. It's called Barbertoentjies. Direct translation is baby toes. And they're soft. They are so soft. Almost like a little jelly bean that you want to just squeeze it. They are completely delightful. I mean, look at the size of that. So Conophytums is a genus that is specific to winter rainfall areas. You will not find this plant in any summer rainfall areas. From the Namaqualand, more aptly known as the Knarschvlakte. So Knarschvlakte is a name synonymous to that area because of the large granite deposits. I was privileged to be able to walk among these plants. And you stop on the side of the road and there's just rock. And you think there can't possibly be a plant here. Possibly. It was really cold winter rainfall. It was freezing, and you walk and you stop. And they say to you, your guide says to you, you've got to tread very carefully because you might hurt them. And you stop and you look down, and as soon as your eyes adjust, there they are. They start waving and peeping out at you. And the next thing you know, you're almost on all fours, clambering across because you don't want to hurt anything. And I think that's where I fell in love with these. So I'm delighted that I have them as part of my collection. Remember, because they're winter rainfall, we need to be able to imitate that wherever we are. So I'm summer rainfall. So now I need to know that during winter I need to water, because winter is their growing season. That's when they push their growth. All Conophytums are generally autumn flowering. So unfortunately I've missed that, but it's okay, I've got next year. So first up is I need a nice terracotta pot. Now I'm just a bit of a stickler with that. I only like planting in terracotta pots, but that's not the golden rule. You can use a plastic pot, you could use a tray, you can really use anything. What I do like using in the bottom of them is any terracotta pots that have cracked or broken. I break them up with a hammer, and these are called crocks, and they work brilliantly for drainage. Of course, you could just use some ordinary gravel as well. So we take that, and this has got quite a big drainage hole. I prefer it for the Conophytum, in fact for most of my succulents, because they really do need good drainage. So I just pop that into the base here. So not covering the hole, but just preventing my growing medium, which you'll see is here, from falling through. So the growing medium that I'm using is a very sand heavy based medium. What I use in here is 50% potting soil. You'll see there are some big bits, and that really doesn't matter. There are a couple of stones in here from a leftover pot that I emptied out, and I use this over here, which is silica sand. The silica sand is the sand that you use for your pool filters, for your sand filter, and this is just a thicker one. You get a very fine, but I much prefer using the coarser one because it gives you more sharp edges. When you have sharp edges, you've got better drainage. Okay, so there it is. I'll also add into this mixture at least a trowel full of an organic growing medium, and that can either be bio lawns or bio ocean, and I use that because it's in the mixture now. As I pot this little baby, he's going to be good to go. All right, so in it goes, In goes some of my medium. So with the Conophytums, there's not much of a root growth. And that's generally specific with this variety. They really don't have a very good root structure. So overwatering is the killer, is the absolute killer, especially in summer. So to get this guy, we fill it almost right to the top, okay? What I normally use is I've got these little bonsai tools, Kitty's gardening tools, and they work a charm because I can just scratch around here, pop the little baby in. Remember, we don't want to bury it too deep because we want to allow for that drainage. And when you get them, you'll see where the previous soil level was over there. Okay, so we get this little guy in. Nearly lost a baby toe there. Huh. Okay, get him in there. And then what I do is I take the back end of this and I just firm it down gently. Get them into their spots. Okay, when it comes to the outer layers, I can then take something a bit bigger and I really firm this down. Okay, and you'll see exactly why in a minute or two. All right, next up, and this is where the Lazy Susan comes in perfectly, is what we use as the topping. Now, this gravel I use is actually just marine gravel. It's fish tank gravel. You can see it's beautiful and fine, and I love this charcoal because the charcoal against the succulents just makes it just pop. And then as you're going along, you can just turn it, keeping this in the same place and simply just turning your Lazy Susan around. And that works brilliantly. So away, last thing I use is a little paintbrush. And what I use this for is just vertically like that, and I just firm down this fine gravel so that I get a nice, even, consistent look. Oh, you beauty, you. It's almost blue, and it's got those little lines in it. Now what's going to happen is, this over here, you can almost see it's starting to wrinkle. This outer sheath then dries out, and that becomes this here, what they're synonymous with in the felt when you see them. That's the outer protection layer. It also helps as a bit of camouflage because it's the same color as the quartz. So then you really can't see the plant. Very, very clever in nature. Right, put this little baby there. Last task, which is the most important task, is to label it. So when I label them, it's genus, species, where I got it from, and the month and year that I planted it in. In you go. Named, good to go. And then finally is watering. Now, once I've planted them, I give them a thorough good watering so that the water actually pours out the base. I then leave them for about 7 to 10 days to just reacclimatize and get themselves settled. I do use a growth stimulator in here, which is basically a growth starter. So it encourages good root development, and it encourages the settling in and releasing of the right nutrients. So it's amino acids, fulvic acids, a bit of calcium, a bit of potassium, just to get the roots awake and growing. With a fine little nozzle, you can see why it's important to use this fine gravel around it. So good soaking. There it is. There's your sign. That's the sign. And then put my little baby in its spot.